The great chamber of the Galactic Council was unlike anything humans had ever built. It was a cathedral of glass and light, suspended in the orbit of Zarion Prime. The walls shimmered with living crystals that recorded every voice, every motion, every judgment passed within them. Hundreds of alien delegates filled the tiers of seats, their strange bodies glowing, vibrating, or bending in ways the human eye struggled to follow. This was where empires were made and broken. At the very center, a figure of glittering crystal stood tall. High Chancellor Zira of the Vayari raised her many-faceted arms, and her voice rang out across the chamber like chimes struck by iron. "Humanity is finished," she declared. The words pulsed through the walls, echoing in every corner. "There, fleets lie in ruins. Their colonies are ash and silence. Their species is broken." A ripple of agreement passed through the chamber. Delegates with translucent wings rustled them in satisfaction. Others with scaled hides or flickering plasma forms leaned back, muttering with cold approval. The council had spoken of humanity. Many times in the past, and almost always with the same tone: pity, annoyance, sometimes curiosity. But now the judgment was final. To the galaxy's elder races, humans were done. At the far edge of the circle, almost hidden in shadow, Captain Mara Vance stood rigid. She was one of the few human representatives still allowed in the chamber. Her uniform was scorched at the edges, its colors faded from too many battles and too little rest. Her face carried the weight of sleepless nights and unspoken grief. Yet her eyes, gray, sharp, unyielding, did not waver. The council ignored her silence. They were too busy agreeing with themselves. "Their spirit burned too fast," said a tall being cloaked in silver mist. "Like a candle in the wind." "They were reckless," added another, its body like shifting water. "Always chasing war. Always rushing forward. Such creatures cannot survive among the stars." "Perhaps," Zira said coldly. "They were never meant to." Mara finally stepped forward. Her boots echoed against the crystal floor, and every alien head turned. She felt their eyes on her, thousands of them, from shapes no human mind had been born to see. Still, she raised her voice, calm and clear. "You think we are finished. You think we are gone. But you are wrong." Murmurs rose like a storm. Some laughed, a deep rumble or a shrill hiss. Others shook their heads as if she were a child refusing to accept the truth. Only one or two remained silent, watching her with interest. Mara continued. "Yes, our fleets have fallen. Yes, our colonies burn. But humanity is not finished. We do not vanish because the universe declares us weak. We do not surrender because others lose faith in us. We survive. Always. That is what it means to be human." Her voice cracked, but not with fear, with fury, with memory. She thought of Earth. Blue skies, green forests, oceans stretching endless and alive. She thought of the children in the colonies, who had cried as the swarm descended, and of the soldiers who had stood against the impossible just to buy one more minute. She thought of her own crew, the faces she had lost one by one until the bridge of her ship had felt like a graveyard. The council dismissed her words. Laughter echoed, cruel and metallic. One delegate leaned close to another and whispered, loud, enough to carry, "Bravery without power is nothing but noise." Mara's jaw tightened. She wanted to shout, to strike, to tear their arrogance apart. But instead, she stood tall and simply said, "History will answer you, not I." And with that, she turned and left the chamber. Beyond the glass walls, Zarion Prime spun slowly in the void. Its surface glittered with seas of molten silver and mountains of black stone that rose like jagged teeth. Above it, hundreds of Alliance warships floated, their hulls alive with alien symbols. They watched, but none moved to salute the lone human captain leaving the chamber. Mara walked through the docking corridors, her boots heavy, her heart heavier. The words of the Chancellor echoed in her mind. Humanity is finished. She had heard those words before, many times. On Earth during the Age of Fire, on Mars during the storms. In every war, every disaster, someone had always said the same. Yet every time, humans endured. She paused at a viewport. Out there in the dark, she knew her people were still fighting. Scattered, bleeding, outnumbered, but alive. And somewhere, deep within Sol's system, a secret waited. Humanity's first mothership, long hidden, long silent. A weapon not of destruction alone, but of memory and defiance. The galaxy believed humans had nothing left. Soon, it would learn the truth. Mara placed her hand against the glass, whispering to herself, "They will see. They will all see." And as she boarded her shuttle, the stars seemed to flicker, like eyes opening in the dark, watching, waiting. The stars over the frontier burned faint and cold, scattered across a sea of emptiness. This was once a place of hope for humanity. Here, the first colonies had been planted, small worlds carved from ice and stone, where families had dreamed of futures among the stars. But now, many of those lights were gone. Entire systems had fallen silent, swallowed by the endless night. Captain Mara Vance sat alone in her shuttle as it drifted through the void. She stared at the holographic display glowing on the console. Dozens of human outposts flickered red, marked as lost. Others blinked with a single word beside them: unknown. She pressed her hand against her mouth, forcing down the weight in her chest. The enemy had struck faster than anyone expected. The Korith swarm, creatures of metal and flesh, older than the Council itself, had come pouring out of the rift like a flood. Their ships were alive, their hulls moving and writhing as if hungry. They did not conquer, they consumed. Every fleet humanity had sent to stop them had broken apart within hours. Even the strongest carriers were nothing but drifting wrecks. Now, the Council called it a disaster, but to humans, it was worse. It was betrayal. Because while the swarm advanced, the great fleets of the Galactic Alliance had not moved. They had watched, they had judged, and in the end, they had declared. Humanity a lost cause, Mara clenched her fists. She remembered the council chamber, their cold voices, their cruel laughter. Humanity is finished. The words rang in her mind again and again, but she refused to accept them. The shuttle connected to a waiting cruiser, the Resolute, one of the last surviving human warships. The airlock hissed open and the smell of metal and oil filled her nose. Her crew was there to greet her, faces tired, uniforms scorched, but still standing. Commander Elias Stone stepped forward, his dark hair falling into weary eyes. He gave her a crooked smile. "So, how many ways did they insult us this time?" Mara managed a small smile. "Enough to make me proud. It means they're afraid." Elias chuckled, though his laughter carried no joy. Behind him, Engineer Hana Kim adjusted the straps of her toolkit, grease staining her gloves. Her face was pale, but her voice steady. "Engines are holding, barely. If we push them again, they might fall apart." "Then we won't break them," Mara said softly. "Not yet." They moved together toward the bridge. Outside the viewport, the fleet hung silent, if it could still be called a fleet. Once, Earth had commanded hundreds of ships. Now only a handful remained: scarred frigates, half-broken destroyers, small carriers patched together with desperation. It was less an army than a memory of one, but to Mara, it was enough. On the bridge, Elias activated the star map, a three-dimensional image of the frontier lit up, dozens of systems glowing across the dark. Some shone blue, safe for now. Others glowed red, already devoured. And near the edge, at the Helios gate, a storm churned. The rift, a wound in space itself. That was where the swarm poured from, endless and unstoppable. We can't face them head on, Elias said quietly. Not with this fleet. I know, Mara answered. So what's the plan? Mara looked at the rift, her jaw tight. She thought of every child waiting on Earth, every colonist praying in silence, every soldier who had already given their life. They had not died for surrender. They had died for one more chance. Her voice was calm when she spoke. We buy time. We hold the line at Helios Gate until something changes. Elias blinked. Hold the line? With this? He gestured at the fleet, his voice rising. Mara, this is suicide. You know it. She met his eyes. Yes, I do. The bridge went silent. Crew members stared at her, shock on their faces. Some looked down in despair, others in disbelief. Only Hannah spoke, her voice soft but steady. Then we'll hold it. Because if we don't, Earth is next. Mara felt her throat tighten. She gave a sharp nod. Exactly. We may be broken. We may be few. But if humanity must fall, we will not fall running. We will not fall begging. We will fall fighting. The word spread across the bridge like fire. The crew straightened, their eyes hardened. For the first time since the war began, there was something stronger than fear among them. Mara turned back to the rift. Its swirling storms lit the dark red and black, alive with hunger. She felt it pulling at her, daring her to resist. Prepare. The fleet, she ordered. Every ship, every weapon, every hand. We make our stand at Helios Gate. The Resolute shuddered as engines came alive. Across the void, the scattered fleet began to move, forming a wall of light against the darkness. They were small. They were broken. But they were still here. And as the swarm gathered on the other side of the rift, humanity prepared to prove the galaxy wrong. The Helios Gate was not a place. It was a scar. At the edge of the frontier, the rift swirled like a black wound in the stars. Its edges shimmered with fire, lightning tearing across its mouth as if the universe itself rejected its existence. From within came the soundless scream of war, the Korith swarm. Their vast, living ships crawled out of the rift like predators from a cave, wings of metal and bone stretching wide, eyes burning with hunger. Every species in the galaxy feared. The rift. Every fleet had retreated before its storm, but now only one fleet remained. Humanity's last wall. The Resolute led the line. Its scarred hull glowed faintly as power surged through battered engines. Around it, a dozen ships formed a fragile crescent, weapons charging, shields humming, with strain. It was not an armada. It was a handful of survivors. But to Captain Mara Vance, it was enough. On the bridge, silence reigned. Crew members sat at their stations, faces pale but steady. The holographic star map glowed, showing the swarm's numbers growing by the second. It was like watching a flood rise against a cracked dam. Commander Elias Stone leaned close, whispering, so only Mara could hear. We can't hold this. Not for long. Mara's jaw tightened. Then we'll hold it as long as we can. Every second counts. Elias didn't argue. He only nodded and turned back to his console. He knew she was right. The longer they survived, the more time Earth and the hidden Mothership had to awaken. The alarms blared. The swarm was coming! Shields to maximum! Mara shouted. Her voice cut through the tension like a blade. All ships, spread formation! Keep moving! Don't let them pin us down! The first wave of the swarm burst from the rift. Dozens of organic cruisers, their carapaces shimmering with strange fire, rushed forward. They opened their maws, spewing storms of plasma. The human, Fleet fired back, cannons roared, missiles streaked through the dark, and railguns spat burning trails across the void. The battle lit the black sky with fire. The Resolute shook as a plasma bolt slammed into its shields. Sparks rained across the bridge. Hana Kim's voice came sharp over the intercom from engineering. "Shields at 60%. If they hit us again like that, we'll be flying blind." "Then keep them together," Mara called back. "I don't care if you have to hold the wires with your own hands. Keep us alive." "Aye, Captain," Hana answered, her voice fierce despite the chaos. The human ships darted and weaved, using their smaller size as an advantage. They struck quickly, then vanished into asteroid shadows, baiting the swarm into ambushes. Mines detonated, ripping apart the lead creatures. Explosions lit the rift's edge like lightning. But the swarm kept coming. Elias cursed as another human frigate was torn apart, its hull split open like paper. Mara closed her eyes for half a heartbeat as the cries of the lost echoed through. Comms. Then she opened them again, sharper than before. "Focus fire!" she commanded. "Bring down the big one!" The fleet obeyed. Dozens of guns locked onto a massive Korath battleship, its body armored in shifting plates of steel bone. Missiles streaked in waves, railguns hammered, lasers carved burning scars across its hide. The beast roared soundlessly, thrashing as its plates cracked. Then, finally, it exploded, breaking apart into shards that burned in the void. A cheer rose across the fleet. It was small, ragged, but real. Mara allowed herself the briefest smile. "See? They bleed." But even as the words left her lips, the rift pulsed again. From its core emerged another wave, larger, stronger, endless. A shadow blotted out the stars as a leviathan rose from the storm, wings stretching wider than a city. Its eyes burned like suns, and its body was a fortress of living steel. The bridge went silent. For a moment, even Mara felt her chest tighten. Elias whispered, "How do we fight that?" Mara stood tall. Her voice was calm, steady, unshaken. "The same way we always fight, one step at a time, one breath at a time, until the last." She turned to the crew, her gaze fierce. "We are the line. If we fall, Earth falls. If we stand, humanity stands. So stand with me." The crew answered not with words, but with fire. The fleet surged forward again, weapons blazing, defiance burning brighter than fear. The Leviathan roared and swept its wings, sending shockwaves across space. Human ships tumbled, shields cracking, hulls shattering. Still they held. Still they fought. Hana's voice rang out again, strained but unbroken. "Engines are redlining. We can't take much more." Mara's hands gripped the railing. Her heart thundered, but her eyes never left the swarm. "We will hold. We will endure. And when the galaxy looks back, they will know we were never finished." The Resolute plunged forward, straight into the storm, and humanity's stand began. The battle at Helios Gate raged like fire across the void. Every second felt like an hour, every breath like a choice between life and death. The human fleet, small and fragile, darted among the swarm like sparks in a storm. Explosions lit the blackness, painting the battlefield in brief, violent flashes of red and gold. The Resolute shook under constant fire. Sparks rained from the ceiling as the ship's hull groaned like an old warrior refusing to fall. On the bridge, Captain Mara. Vance stood unyielding, her hands gripping the railing so hard her knuckles turned white. Her eyes never left the shifting swarm that filled the viewport. Commander Elias Stone's voice was sharp. "We're losing ships too fast. If we keep trading blows, they'll bury us." Mara's jaw tightened. He was right. Humans could not win with brute force. They never had. But that was not their way. Humanity had never been the strongest species, nor the fastest, nor the most advanced. Humanity's gift was something else, something the swarm could never understand. Cunning! Elias, Mara said, her voice calm even as alarms blared around them. Send the signal. It's time. Elias blinked, then grinned despite the chaos. You really want to try it now? Now, Mara said firmly. Before we lose more. Elias tapped the console, and a coded burst shot across the fleet. Hidden among the asteroids drifting near the rift, dozens of mines came alive. They had been planted days before by small, damaged freighters that the swarm had ignored. The mines were crude, built from salvaged explosives and stripped ship parts. Nothing elegant, nothing advanced. Just human ingenuity and desperation hammered into steel. Pull the fleet back, Mara ordered. Make them chase us. The human ships shifted formation, turning their hulls as if retreating. The swarm surged forward with hunger, sensing weakness. They followed, thrashing through the void like a pack of predators smelling blood. Steady, Mara whispered, her eyes locked on the map. Her heart pounded, but her voice was steady, controlled. Every instinct screamed at her to fire, to run, to fight. But she held. Timing mattered more than strength. The swarm rushed closer, filling the field, their massive bodies closing in around the smaller human ships. Then, at the perfect moment, Mara raised her hand. Now! The mines detonated. The darkness erupted in light. A wall of fire tore through the swarm, ripping apart their formation. Fragments of metal flesh spun into the void, burning as they went. Entire cruisers shattered under the blast. The shockwave rippled outward, shaking even the resolute. Cheers erupted across the bridge. For a heartbeat, the fear lifted. Humanity had struck back. Elias slammed his fist on the console, laughing with wild relief. Ha! Did you see that? They didn't even know what hit them. But Mara didn't smile. She knew it was only the beginning. On the edge of the rift, the Leviathan stirred. Its wings stretched wide, and a low vibration rattled through the fleet, as its eyes burned brighter. The swarm did not scatter. They regrouped, stronger, angrier. Mara spoke softly, almost to herself. They learn. The swarm pressed forward again, this time cautious. Their movements slowed, their formation tighter. The mines would not fool them a second time. Hana's voice came over comms from engineering, strained with effort. Captain, shields are barely holding. I've rerouted every line I can, but if we take another direct hit from that Leviathan, we won't, Mara interrupted. Hold them together, Hana, just a little longer. Yes, Captain, Hana replied, though her voice trembled. The Leviathan opened its maw, a glow building deep within. Energy crackled across its body like lightning preparing to strike. The crew stared, frozen. Elias whispered, "What is it doing?" Then the Leviathan fired. A beam of white-hot energy shot across the void. It tore through a human destroyer in a single stroke, splitting the ship in half. The explosion was blinding. The shockwave slammed against the fleet, tossing ships like toys. The bridge fell silent. Mara's chest ached as she looked at the drifting wreck. More lives gone, more families broken. But she could not stop. Not now. She steadied her voice. Bring us closer. We hit the Leviathan directly. Elias spun toward her. Closer? That thing will tear us apart. Mara's eyes were like steel. If we run, Earth is next. If we fall back, humanity is finished. We stand here. With me. The crew looked at her, and in her gaze they found something stronger than fear. They found fire. Slowly, the Resolute pushed forward, leading the fleet straight toward the Leviathan. Every ship followed, engines burning, weapons primed. It was madness. It was impossible. But it was human. "Fire all weapons!" Mara roared. Cannons thundered, missiles screamed, and railguns blazed. The Leviathan answered with its own storm, energy tearing across the void. The two forces collided in a blaze of fury. The Resolute shook, hull groaning, alarms screaming. Hana shouted over the comms, "We can't take much more!" Mara gripped the railing, refusing to yield. Her voice carried across the bridge, across the fleet, across every human soul still alive in that moment. Hold the line. No matter what. Hold the line. And so they did. Against the impossible. Against the storm. Against the galaxy's judgment. Humanity stood. The battle at Helios Gate had become a storm without end. For every Korith ship that burned, 2 more poured from the rift. The human fleet fought like cornered wolves, striking fast, retreating and striking again. But even wolves grow tired, when the hunt never stops. The Resolute trembled under constant fire. Metal screamed as another blast ripped across its shields. Sparks burst from consoles, smoke filled the bridge, and still the crew refused to leave their posts. Every second felt stolen. Every breath was a fight against despair. "Shields at 20%. Hana Kim's voice came ragged through the comms. The sound of grinding machinery echoed behind her words. "If they hit us again, the core will blow." Mara Vance stood tall in the chaos, refusing to flinch. Her eyes burned with the same fire. She had carried since the council chamber. Humanity might be bleeding, but she would not let them die crawling. "Keep them together," she said firmly. "Even if you have to weld it with your bare hands, Hana, keep us alive." On the bridge, Elias Stone slammed his fist on the console as another human ship fell, consumed in fire. His voice was hoarse with fury. "We're running out of time, Mara. We can't keep this up. We're not winning. We're just delaying the inevitable." Mara turned to him. Her face was tired, streaked with smoke and shadow, but her voice was calm. "Delaying is winning. Every second we live is another second Earth lives. Another second for hope." Elias shook his head, torn between anger and admiration. "Hope won't stop that thing." He pointed at the Leviathan looming beyond the rift, its wings stretched wide, energy glowing deep inside its core, preparing another strike. The crew stared at the monster, their hearts sinking. How could fragile human ships stand against such a titan? Mara saw the despair in their faces. She felt it too, gnawing at her heart, but she pushed it down. She had to. She raised her voice, sharp and fierce. "Listen to me, all of you! That thing is not invincible. It is not eternal. Nothing is. We will find a way to break it." The crew straightened. Their fear did not vanish, but it bent beneath. Her will. The Leviathan roared, unleashing a shockwave that sent the Resolute spinning. The bridge tilted, alarms screamed, and Elias shouted, "Stabilizers failing! Hold us steady!" Mara commanded. "Point us straight at it! Don't let it see fear!" The ship groaned as thrusters burned hot, dragging the cruiser back into formation. The fleet regrouped, forming a battered wall of light before the rift. And then, in the chaos, Hana's voice crackled through again, urgent and breathless. "Captain, I've found something." Mara snapped her head toward the speaker. "What is it?" "There's a weakness," Hana said. Sparks exploded behind her as she worked, but her voice stayed strong. "The Leviathan's armor, those shifting plates? They move to deflect energy fire. But when they move, even for a second, they leave gaps." Elias frowned. "We've been hitting it for hours. We'd have seen that." "No," Hana said firmly. "You wouldn't. It's too fast. But I've been tracking the patterns. There's a rhythm to it. Like breathing." The bridge fell silent. Even Mara froze, staring at the projection of the Leviathan. Slowly she nodded. "A living ship," she whispered. "Even monsters breathe." Hana's voice cracked, half with exhaustion, half with hope. "If we time it right, if we hit the exact gap when it shifts, we can pierce it. Maybe not kill it, but hurt it. Badly." Mara's heart pounded. The crew stared at her, waiting. The risk was madness. A single mistake would waste their last ammunition. But what choice was left? Mara lifted her chin. Do it. The order spread across the fleet. Cannons charged, missiles armed, railguns loaded. Every remaining human ship, prepared for the strike. The Leviathan opened its wings again, its core glowing brighter. Power gathered inside its body, enough to erase the fleet in one blast. Humanity had one chance. Hana's voice rang out over comms, sharp and clear. Wait for my mark? Not yet. Not yet. The swarm closed in, sensing victory. Human shields flickered, engines sputtered, hulls cracked. But still they held formation. Still they waited. Now, Hana shouted. The fleet fired as one. Every missile streaked through the void. Every cannon roared. Every railgun spat fire. The storm of weapons converged on a single point, slipping through the narrow gap in the Leviathan's shifting armor. The impact shook the void. The Leviathan screamed, a soundless roar of fury and pain. Its armor cracked, light spilling from its wound. Its great body thrashed, tearing apart smaller swarm ships around it. On the bridge, the crew erupted in cries of victory. For the first time, the impossible had bled. Elias grinned wildly, his eyes burning. We heard it! Mara, we actually heard it! But Mara's expression remained grim. She watched the Leviathan thrash, her heart heavy. Yes, she said quietly, but not enough. Because even as the monster bled, the rift pulsed again. More shadows stirred within, more ships preparing to emerge. The battle was not over. Humanity had only bought another breath. Mara closed her eyes for a moment, whispering a promise to herself, to Earth, to every soul still alive. We will not fall. Not here. Not now. She opened her eyes, fierce and unbroken. Prepare for the next wave. And as the rift flared, humanity braced for the storm. The rift burned like a wound in the sky. Shadows poured from it, endless Korith ships, black and sharp, each one spitting fire into the void. Humanity's fleet fought on, but every blast tore another piece from their strength. Inside the Resolute, Captain Mara Vance stood at the center of the bridge, her face lit by red alarms and fire on the horizon. Her body ached. Her voice was hoarse, but her will did not bend. Elias Stone, gripping the railing with white knuckles, muttered, "This is madness. We bled the Leviathan, but it's still moving. And the swarm keeps coming. Even wolves can't fight forever." Mara's eyes stayed fixed on the rift. "Wolves don't fight forever," she said. "They fight until the forest is safe." The crew fell into silence. They knew what she meant. Earth itself was the forest. The Leviathan still writhed from its wound, but its wings unfolded again, energy burning bright in its core. The swarm shifted around it, like predators protecting their king. Then Hana's voice came from engineering, trembling with both fear and excitement. "Captain, there's something strange. I'm reading energy signals beneath the rift, not Korith." "Something else." Mara frowned. "Explain." Hana's fingers danced over controls. Sparks showered around her as damaged wires hissed, but she didn't stop. "It's old. Very old. Buried. Like a sleeping engine." Elias narrowed his eyes. "Sleeping? Out here? You think it's one of ours?" Hana shook her head, though they couldn't see her. "No human tech. And not Korith either. This is different. I think it's a mothership." The bridge went still. Mara leaned forward. Her voice was sharp, urgent. "Are you telling me there's another ship out there? Beneath the rift?" "Yes," Hana said, her voice cracking with awe. "And Captain, it's waking up." A tremor shook the void. Light rippled beneath the rift like thunder beneath water. Slowly, impossibly, a shape began to emerge, vast, ancient, and silent. The Leviathan turned its great head toward it, wings folding protectively. The swarm faltered, uncertain. Even monsters felt fear. The crew of the Resolute stared, breathless. The ship was unlike anything they had seen. Its hull shimmered with living light, its surface etched with patterns older than stars. It dwarfed the fleet, dwarfing even the Leviathan. Elias whispered, "Dear God, it's not theirs. It's not ours. Whose side is it on?" Mara's eyes blazed. "We'll find out." The massive vessel drifted fully into view. Its lights pulsed, slow at first, then faster, as though it were breathing again after eons of silence. And then, a voice filled the bridge. Not from speakers, not from comms, but inside their minds. Calm, deep, like the echo of the universe itself. "Children of Earth, do not fear." The crew froze. Their hearts hammered in their chests. "We have slept, waiting for your kind to rise. The Korath were not the first to come from the rift, and they will not be the last. But humanity is different. You are unbroken." Elias stumbled back, his voice shaking. It's talking to us." Mara gripped the railing, refusing to let her awe slow her. "If you are with us, then fight with us. If you are not, then stand aside." The voice rumbled, carrying both warmth and iron. "We are with you, but you must guide us. Your will must lead." The mothership's hull flared with light, brighter and brighter until it bathed the battlefield. Energy coursed along its body, humming with forgotten power. The Leviathan shrieked in fury, lunging forward. The swarm followed, desperate to strike before the new power could rise. Mara turned to her crew. "This is it. They thought we were finished. They thought humanity was weak. But now, we fight with something greater, something they never expected." Hana's voice shook with excitement. "Captain, I can link our systems to it. I think it wants us to, like, it's waiting for our command." Mara's jaw tightened. "Do it. Now!" Lights flickered across the Resolute as Hana forced the connection. The mothership's systems flowed into theirs, overwhelming yet strangely familiar. Symbols scrolled across the screens, alien, but somehow understandable. It was as if the ship had been waiting for human hands. "Connection stable," Hana gasped. "Captain, it's listening." Mara raised her hand, steady as stone. "Then let it hear us. All ships, form up. With the mothership at our side, we break their line." The mothership moved at her command. Slow at first, then faster, its weapons awakening. Beams of white light erupted from its sides, cutting through the swarm like blades through smoke. Korath ships burned, torn apart by power too great to resist. The Leviathan roared and struck, hurling fire at the mothership. But the ancient vessel's shields flared, bending the blast aside. For the first time, the Leviathan staggered back, wounded not just by trickery, but by true force. The human fleet rallied, hope flooding their veins. They struck in unison, side by side with the mothership. The void itself seemed to shudder with the clash of titans. On the bridge, Elias laughed. A wild, desperate laugh of a man who had seen death and found life instead. "We're not finished. Do you hear me? Humanity isn't finished," Mara's voice cut through the storm, fierce and unyielding. "No. Humanity is only beginning." The rift pulsed again, shadows stirring within. The war was far from over. But now the humans stood with a weapon born of the stars themselves, and in that moment, even the Korath knew the truth. Humanity would not die quietly. The battlefield glowed with wreckage. Fragments of broken Korath ships drifted like burning ash across the stars. Humanity's fleet held its fragile line, their hulls battered, their shields thin, yet their spirits burned brighter than before. At the heart of it all, the mothership floated like a living monument, vast, ancient, alive with energy. Its lights pulsed like a heartbeat, steady and powerful, keeping the swarm at bay. On the bridge of the Resolute, Captain Mara Vance stood tall. Sweat trickled down her temple, her voice hoarse, but her eyes steady. Around her the crew breathed, in silence, waiting for what came next. The voice of the mothership spoke again, low and resonant, filling the air like the song of a cathedral. Children of Earth, your courage has awakened us. Long we have waited in the dark, hidden beneath the rift, for you and only you. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Elias Stone leaned close to Mara. Only us? What does it mean by that? Mara's jaw tightened. Let's ask, she lifted, her chin. Why humanity? Why wait for us? There was a pause long enough to make their hearts race. Then the voice answered, because you do what others cannot. You endure. Hannah, her hands still on the console, whispered almost to herself, endure. That's all we've been doing. The mothership continued, its voice both gentle and stern. The Korith come from beyond time. They seek to devour what lives, to make all stars silent. Long ago, we fought them. Long ago, we fell. We hid our last vessel here, beneath the wound in the sky, waiting for a people stubborn enough to rise when all hope was lost. The weight of the words pressed on every soul. Humanity, small, young, underestimated, was the one chosen to awaken this forgotten guardian. Elias spoke, his voice unsteady. So, we weren't a mistake. We weren't too weak. We were meant to be here. Mara looked at him, her expression firm but soft. No one is meant. We choose, and we chose to fight. The rift pulsed again, throwing shadows across the battlefield. More Korith ships emerged, dozens, then hundreds, forming walls of darkness. The Leviathan roared, its wounded body glowing with vengeance. The crew's brief hope wavered. Hannah gasped. Captain, they're bringing reinforcements. We're outnumbered 10-1. Silence fell. Every heart on the bridge felt the weight of doom pressing close. But Mara stepped forward, her voice sharp and unbreakable. We're not outnumbered. We're just the fewer wolves. Elias laughed bitterly. Wolves again. You love that metaphor. Mara's eyes flashed. Because it's true. A wolf doesn't measure the pack it faces. It measures the heart it carries. The mothership pulsed, as if responding to her fire. Yes, show them. Lead, and we will follow. The human fleet tightened formation, rallying around the mothership. Lights flared as damaged ships powered their weapons one last time. The Alliance fleets, alien vessels, battered and hesitant, watched from a distance. They had doubted humanity. They had called them fragile, reckless, too wild to survive. Yet now, those same doubters saw humans standing tall against the dark. A transmission flickered in. The face of Ambassador Thrin of the Serathel appeared, scaled skin glistening, golden eyes sharp with disbelief. Human captain! Thrin hissed. You cannot hold this fight. Withdraw. Sacrifice your homeworld if you must, but save yourselves. Mara turned slowly toward the screen, her voice steel. You still don't understand. We don't run, not from this, not from anything. Earth is our beginning, and we will not let it end. Thrin faltered, words failing him. In his long life, he had never seen such certainty in any commander. The mothership's voice boomed, filling both the human and alien channels. Do you see now? They stand where others fall. They burn where others fade. They are humanity, and with them, we rise. The battlefield shifted. The mothership surged forward, shields blazing. Its weapons sang, lances of light carving through the swarm. The human fleet followed, every ship pouring fire into the dark. The Leviathan howled and met them head-on. It struck with its wings, tearing space itself, flinging debris into the void. Yet the mothership did not yield. Its shields flared, bending the attack away while humanity struck back with all their fury. On the Resolute, alarms screamed. The hull shuddered under impact. Sparks flew across the bridge, but no one left their post. Hana's fingers bled from torn nails as she forced systems online. Elias held fast to the gunnery console, teeth clenched as he fired again and again. "Captain!" Hana cried. "Shields at 20%! Mara's voice cut through the chaos, calm as stone. "Hold the line! Just hold!" Then it happened. The mothership's lights flared brighter than ever before. Its core pulsed, sending shock waves, rippling through space. For a brief second, everything stilled. The swarm, the Leviathan, even the rift itself seemed to hesitate. And in that silence, the voice spoke once more. "Children of Earth, there is one final gift. But it requires more than power. It requires choice. If you would wield us fully, you must bind us, your spirit to ours, forever." Mara's chest tightened. She felt the weight of the decision press against her soul. To bind humanity to this ancient power. It could save them or destroy them. Elias's voice broke the silence. "Captain, what if it costs us everything?" Mara looked at her crew, at Hana, her eyes shining with both fear and hope, at Elias, his jaw trembling but his resolve unshaken, at every face that had chosen to fight, not because they were strong, but because they refused to surrender. Her answer was simple. "Then, everything is a price worth paying." She placed her hand on the console. "Do it!" The mothership's lights erupted, blazing brighter than a star. A shockwave spread across the void, shattering the Korith formation, throwing ships into chaos. The Leviathan staggered back, roaring in defiance, and for the first time, the swarm faltered, not because they were beaten, but because they knew. Humanity had changed the rules. On the alien ships watching from afar, silence reigned. For the first time, they looked at humanity not as children, not as reckless wanderers, but as something new, as leaders. The light of the mothership spread across the stars like a second dawn. The human fleet shielded their eyes as a storm of energy coursed through their systems, repairing shattered hulls, recharging weapons, and pushing fear out of weary hearts. On. The resolute Captain Mara Vance felt the vibration in her bones. The ship itself seemed alive, humming with power. Around her, the crew looked at their consoles in awe as once-dead systems sparked back to life. "Engines! Fully restored," Hana whispered, her voice trembling. "Even the cracked plates are sealing themselves." Elias gripped his chair, his eyes wide. "This ship, this power, it's rewriting us." Mara stood straight, watching the mothership drift before them, vast and radiant. Its voice rolled through every speaker, through every soul. "Children of Earth, the bond is complete. You are no longer alone. Together, we are one flame against the dark." The rift shuddered, and from its bleeding edges the swarm came again. Thousands. This time, a wall of shadow stretching across the void. At its heart, the Leviathan rose, its body torn but unbroken, its wings blotting out the stars. Fear threatened to crawl back into human hearts, but Mara's voice cut through it. "They think numbers will break us. They don't understand. Humanity has always faced numbers. Plagues, wars, storms, empires. Every time we stand. Every time we rise." Her words lit the crew like fire. Elias slammed his fist against the console. "Then let's show them!" The mothership pulsed, and beams of pure white light tore into the swarm. Human ships darted forward in tight formation, their movements no longer clumsy but sharp, like dancers in war. The Alliance fleets, watching from the edge of the system, fell silent as the impossible unfolded. The humans were not being destroyed. They were winning. On the alien flagship Zephyrian, Ambassador Thryn stood frozen, his golden eyes reflecting the fury of the battle. Around him, the Sarathel commanders hissed in disbelief. "This is madness," one of them rasped. "They should not stand a chance." Thryn could not answer. He had lived centuries, seen empires rise and collapse, but never had he seen such defiance. The humans had been dismissed as reckless, fragile dreamers. Yet now their defiance was bending the impossible. He whispered slowly, "They are rewriting fate." Back on the Resolute, alarms flared as the Leviathan struck. Its wings sliced through space, waves of dark energy crashing against the Mothership. The shockwave hurled smaller human ships into spirals. One frigate was torn apart, its pieces scattering like sparks. Hana screamed, "We can't hold against that. The Mothership is strong, but not invincible." Mara's eyes narrowed. "Then, we do what we always do. We find a way." She turned to Elias. "Target its wounds. The Mothership weakened it. Now we finish what it started." Elias locked onto the creature's torn flank. "All batteries, focus fire!" The fleet roared to life. Missiles, cannons, and beams tore into the Leviathan. It shrieked, its body twisting in fury. Black ichor poured into space like rivers of night. But still it pressed on, crashing into the Mothership, trying to crush it with sheer force. The Mothership's voice thundered once more. "The enemy feeds on despair. Deny it. Strike as one or fall apart." Mara clenched her fists. "All ships, this is Captain Vance. No one fights alone. We move as one body, one blade. Humanity is unity. Follow me." Her words carried across the human fleet and beyond. Alien crews listening on shared channels felt the fire too. Slowly, one by one, alien ships began to move, hesitant at first, then faster. The Sarathel cruisers turned their cannons toward the swarm. The crystalline Ilvathi vessels opened their wings, channeling beams of refracted starlight. Even the cautious Rhinari warships surged forward. The alliance, once fractured, now rallied under humanity's banner. Elias gasped as the tactical display lit up. "Captain, they're with us. The entire alliance. They're actually following our lead." Mara's chest tightened with pride. She gave a single nod. "Then let's end this together." The battle became a storm. The human fleet cut through the swarm like fire in dry grass. The Mothership's radiant blasts carved holes into the Leviathan's hide, while alien ships struck from every side, weaving their strength into humanity's courage. For the first time, the swarm faltered. Its endless hunger was met with something it had never faced before, unity born of choice, not fear. But victory was not yet in their grasp. The Leviathan, cornered and desperate, drew in energy from the rift itself. The wound in space flared red, bleeding raw chaos. Lightning arced across the void, tearing ships apart in an instant. Hana's hands shook over the console. "Captain, if it pulls all that power, it could collapse the system, a supernova event. Everything, everyone, gone." The crew fell silent. Fear chilling their veins, Mara closed her eyes. In that silence, she remembered Earth, its oceans, its winds, its voices. Humanity had always faced extinction. Always there had been something bigger, stronger, deadlier. And always there had been one answer: fight. She opened her eyes, steady as stone. "Then we stop it here. Not for survival, for every world that still has a chance to breathe." The Mothership's voice rumbled, almost proud. "You understand. This is not just battle. This is meaning. Shall we strike together?" Mara raised her hand. "Together." The Mothership blazed brighter than ever, channeling its core. The human fleet tightened, pouring all their energy into one final strike. The alliance followed. Every ship, every weapon, every heart aligned. Elias's voice shook as he counted down. 3, 2, 1. Fire! A storm of light filled the stars. Humanity, Aliens and the Mothership struck as one. The Leviathan shrieked, its form unraveling, its wings torn apart. The rift howled, collapsing under the strain. The battlefield burned white. Then silence. When the light faded, the Leviathan was gone. The swarm, broken without its core, scattered like dust in the wind. The rift sealed, leaving only scars across the stars. On the Resolute, the crew sat in stunned silence. Hannah covered her mouth with trembling hands. Elias slumped back, eyes wet. They had survived. The Mothership's voice filled the void one last time, softer now, almost tender. Children of Earth, you have given us hope again. You did not only save yourselves. You showed the galaxy what it means to fight for more than life. You showed them what it means to be human. Across the Alliance fleets, silence gave way to awe. For the first time, every species saw humanity not as reckless children, but as something greater. Leaders. Mara stood at the center of her bridge, her voice low but unshaken. This war isn't over, but today we proved something the galaxy will never forget. Her words echoed like fire through the silence. Humanity is here to stay. The battlefield was quiet. Space, once burning with fire and screams, now drifted in silence. Wreckage floated among the stars. Broken wings of ships, shattered fragments of steel, and the glowing ashes of fallen warriors. Yet, in that silence, there was something else. Hope. On the bridge of the Resolute, Captain Mara Vance stood tall. Her uniform was torn, her body heavy with exhaustion, but her eyes burned with light. The crew around her sat in stunned silence, breathing hard. There, faces pale but alive. For the first time, they had beaten the impossible. Elias leaned forward, his voice rough. "It's over?" Mara didn't answer immediately. She looked out the window at the stars. The Leviathan was gone, the rift sealed, but the scars of battle glowed like open wounds. She knew the fight might return someday. But for now, yes, it was over. "Yes," she said softly. "We won." A tremor of relief ran through the crew. Hannah wept quietly at her console, wiping her eyes with shaking hands. We actually did it." The Alliance fleets slowly regrouped. Ships that had once doubted humanity now sent signals of respect and awe. From the Sarathel command vessel came a message. "Humans, today you led us where none dared to go. We honor you." Other voices followed, one after another, from different worlds. The crystalline Ilvati sent waves of radiant colors across space, their form of gratitude. The Renari, always cold and silent, finally spoke in their deep voices. "We misjudged your kind. You are not reckless children. You are fire." On the bridge, Elias whispered, "Fire. That's exactly what we are." Mara closed her eyes. For years, humanity had been underestimated, mocked, even ignored by greater civilizations. But today, the galaxy had seen their true nature. Not just survivors, not just fighters, leaders. The Mothership, vast and glowing, drifted silently before them. Its light dimmed slowly, no longer burning with fury but shining with peace. Then its voice echoed once more, soft and deep, like a heartbeat across the stars. "Children of Earth, you have chosen not just to live, but to lead. Your defiance is more than survival. It is creation. You gave unity where there was division. You gave meaning where there was fear. You are ready." The crew listened in silence, their hearts heavy with awe. Mara stepped forward, her voice low. "Ready? For what?" The Mothership paused, as though it were listening to something far away. Then it spoke again. "Ready to stand where even we once fell. Ready to guard the light of all worlds. The rift will return one day and more darkness will come. When it does, the galaxy will look to you, and you must answer." Its words hung in the silence. Humanity, the youngest race among the stars, was now being asked to bear the heaviest burden. Elias exhaled, shaking his head. "So that's it. We're not done. We're just beginning." Mara's chest tightened, but she felt no fear. She felt pride. Humanity had always carried burdens. Now, they would carry the galaxy itself if they had to. As the fleets returned to their stations, the Resolute drifted quietly. Inside, the crew gathered in the common hall, their faces lit by dim lights. No one spoke for a long time. They were tired, broken, but together. Hana finally broke the silence. "Do you think Earth knows? Do you think they can feel it? That we made history out here?" Mara smiled softly. "They'll know. Not from reports, not from broadcasts. They'll know because when humanity looks up at the stars again, they'll feel something, a new dawn." Her words touched everyone. Even Elias, who had always been the cynic, found himself nodding. Yeah, a new dawn. On the alien flagship, Ambassador Thrin stood before his council. His golden eyes burned with something none had ever seen in him before. Respect. "They were supposed to fall," one elder whispered. "Yes," Thrin replied, "but instead they rose. And when they rose, so did we all." He turned his gaze toward Earth on the star maps. "The galaxy has a new center now, not of power, but of spirit. Humanity will change us all." Days later, when the fleets had dispersed and the dead had been honored, the humans gathered in orbit above Earth. Billions on the surface looked up as the sky shimmered with lights. Ships. Returning home, battered but victorious. Children pointed at the stars, cheering. Elders wept. Across cities and villages, humanity celebrated not just survival, but their first step into a destiny greater than themselves. Mara, standing on the Resolute's deck, watched Earth below. It looked so small, so fragile, yet it held everything, worth fighting for. She whispered to herself, "This is why we fight. Not for glory, not for fear, for home." The Mothership drifted above them one last time. Its light grew faint, as though its purpose was done. But before it left, its voice echoed in the hearts of every human, every alien who had fought. Remember this day, for the galaxy did not only see a battle, it saw the birth of something eternal, the fire of humanity. And then, slowly, the Mothership faded into the stars, leaving behind silence and wonder. On the Resolute, Elias sat with Hana, both staring at the stars. "So what now?" he asked. Hana smiled faintly through her tears. "Now, we live, we rebuild. And when the darkness comes again," Mara's voice carried from across the hall, steady and unbreakable. "When it comes again, humanity will be ready, and we will not face it alone." They all looked at her, and in that moment, no one doubted. The galaxy had shifted forever. Humanity had stepped from the shadows of history into the light of destiny. The stars were no longer just distant points of wonder. They were waiting, and humanity was coming.